Yes, Mark.
I can. Can you hear me?
Hey, Mark, yeah, Mark.
Hi, guys.
Hello, Mark. Nice
Hey.
to see you again.
Yes.
This is now your third interview of the day with us, so
and,
thank you for
and happy to do it.
Thank you for taking the time out of your day to talk with us. You know, this is now the third time he's talked to you guys. He's still got one more after. But
Do we have the questions this time?
yes, I did.
Oh,
I did
good.
forgot the question. Last class, I forgot to put out the questions.
Yeah, they got shortchanged.
Yeah, a little bit, but it's all good. Let me turn you up a little bit. All right. So thank you for taking the time to, out of your day to talk with us, answer questions, and have a fun time. We really appreciate it. Appreciate it. So is there anything you'd like to tell us before we get started with our interview and stuff and answering all the questions?
No. I'm guessing that this class as well also watched Behind the Curve.
Yes, we all watched the documentary that you were in.
Got it. Yeah, super fun time. I'm sure it'll come up. And no, let's get right to it because I know you probably got a bunch of questions.
Yeah, we do. We got lots of questions. So don't worry about those questions. You got the right. Is that the one that says?
Do they know, by the way, that half their grade for this class is based on this right here?
They don't.
Oh, okay. Right. You might want to tell them.
So we'll get into some questions. We'll start off with the space launch. I took your paper. This one?
Can you grab? Yeah.
You gotta need that one over there. You don't need this one. Yeah. So we'll start off. What is your opinion? There's that big space launch yesterday.
Right.
The Artemis, how it's orbiting the moon.
Right.
10 days. I forget off the top of my head, but tell us your opinion on that. What do you think of that?
Yesterday would have been Artemis 2, which would be the first manned mission that went anywhere even close to the moon in 54 years. And I treat it the same way I treat every mission that's tied to NASA, and that would be, Mercury and Gemini and Apollo and everything. It's just theater. It is fake since minute freaking one. And this mission is no different. They're not going to show you anything for the next 10 days, and they may include a little drama at the end because they're worried about the heat shields, blah blah blah. But yeah, yesterday we'll be breaking. I did a live reaction on my channel yesterday on it, and we'll be doing more on it on Tuesday, and every other channels that's tied to our community is going to be jumping on it. So yeah, fake.
Okay. All right, well, we'll just hop right into some questions that these guys came up.
Sure.
I'm not going to go in any particular order or anything like that, but I'll start with their question. So what did you do before you got into flat Earth, and also when did you get into flat Earth and all that stuff?
Before I got into flat Earth, let's see. And I don't know if the college question will come in. So I was thrown out of university when my junior year for manufacturing explosives on campus. Turned that into playing video games for a living. I entered a world tournament back in '94 for computer pinball, and I cheated. I still got the scores, but I finished the tournament 6 months ahead of time and didn't tell anybody, and then was hired by the company that put on the tournament in Boulder, Colorado, and went out to Boulder and worked for them and other companies out there in top proprietary software for 20 years. And then when I was done with that, while I was waiting for another startup opportunity to pop up, I was delving into more conspiracies than usual. And that's when I got into Flat Earth started in 2014, made my first YouTube video at the beginning of 2015. And that's what I've been doing for the last 11 years.
That's good. So let's see. I guess let's talk about the documentary and just in general. What was that like being in the documentary, just the whole experience in general? What was that like?
It was pretty wild because none of the producers that were tied to it was a very small group. I mean, these guys were running on a shoestring budget. I know it has Netflix banners on it, but Netflix didn't buy it until after the fact. The director and the producers had no faith in the project whatsoever. They didn't think we'd even get into film festivals. You don't know how it works. If you don't have a distributor, some streaming platform or a major network that's going to do it, you have to apply to film festivals, try to get the word out there. And every film festival that we applied to, we got into. You can look, the website's still up, behindthecurvefilm.com. And I mean, every single place we went to, we got in, we got in. We didn't win awards necessarily, but I think we always placed in the top 10, to where Netflix picked it up and Amazon picked it up and YouTube Red and iTunes and everybody. And we shot for 7 months, and they boiled it down from 7 months down to 100 minutes, and it was amazing. By the time, I honestly did not know what the reception was going to be like, but when Netflix finally picked it up, I remember my email load tripled in a week, which was bad, because I was already getting quite a few emails, and I had to call people. It's like, what happened? Did something happen? They go, yeah, Netflix got it. It's like, oh wow. So yeah, a lot of fun, and to this day, it is paid off dividends. So I'm never gonna say a bad thing about it.
Yeah, it was a pretty fun documentary. We enjoyed it. Everyone, and it was a little crazy, including you. But I don't think you're. I think there are some people that are a little bit crazier in the documentary personally.
We talking about Nathan? Yeah, Nathan was the. I don't even want to know if I want to call him the plucky comic relief. He was more of the eccentric, very eccentric flat Earth person that they put in there, and I thought he was great, and I still to this day. And again, I told last class, when I recommended him to the Amazing Race television series, they immediately jumped on it. They're like, "Oh yeah, he's the guy." I go, "Yeah, I know, right? He's absolutely built for this sort of thing." The season never panned out. They scrapped that whole YouTube season, but had they done it, he would have been in it. So it would have been great.
Okay. So what about Patricia? How's she doing? What is she up to? How's she going?
After the documentary, Patricia, we still did stuff at part of the community for a while. She eventually came on Strange World and was my co-host on Strange World in 2024. And then she pulled away, and she's off of social media almost entirely now for partially legal reasons, and I don't really want to get into it. But if you guys are interested, there's videos out there on my channel. You can totally look into it. But she's fine, still living in Houston, still doing her thing. But she is off social media almost entirely right now.
So were y'all a thing, like for real?
We were a thing, but not during the documentary. The documentaries, even though they're supposed to be factual and nobody gets paid and stuff, like, except for the producers, they are still. There's a Mark Twain saying, which I love so much, which is never let the truth get in the way of a good story. And that applies to basically all media. If you add or remove little pieces of a story when you tell it, you'll all do it one day. Add or remove little pieces of a story, and that story is better because of it, and it resonates more with people that you're telling it to. I guarantee you're going to keep telling that version of the story. And in this case, they knew that having Patricia and I as a couple in the documentary, or at least some sort of romantic interest, was going to play better. And so that's what they went with. And it's like, oh, the truth was, no, we were an item back in 2015 into 2016. But we didn't even start shooting the documentary until 2017. Yeah, 2017.
Okay. So are you looking right now for a Mrs. Sargent?
Oh, always. No. I've never been married. I never had kids. I won't say I'm completely soured off of marriage, but I've run into some things, again, like the woman who blackmailed me up at college, and called the feds on me for manufacturing fireworks on campus. That didn't sit well with me, because she and I were dating for a while. And that was not a fun thing to have. But I've dated a number of, after Patricia, I dated a number of flat Earth women. Right now, I've got feelers out, but I'll know it. I'll say this because somebody asked me recently, they say, why didn't you ever get married? I go, because I read somewhere when I was young that you should only marry for true love. And I believed that. I really, really did. So that's what I was looking for. And I'll hold out if I have to. I just haven't run into a woman that's her primary motivation.
What if your true love was a round earther? How would you feel?
That would be tough to do. Very, very tough. You might as well, you at that point, you might as well compare it to marrying someone who's a completely, if you're enthusiastic in one religion, they're enthusiastic in another religion. It's very, very difficult to, because there's going to be a lot of crossover. It's going to come up more than once. And how many conversations are you going to have with friends where flat Earth comes up? She doesn't like it. I mean, if if she tolerates it, yeah, fine. But if it bugs her at all, no, it's never going to work.
Okay. What do I want to ask? If you got offered to go into space, would you?
I have been offered, and I have said yes. It just the production never manifested itself. The British were really keen on it for a while. I don't know why UK people were really big on it. They wanted to make sure that happened, that I got at least, up to the space station or something like that. And I said, yeah, you bet. I'd be happy to. But it's never going to happen because space isn't real. The whole space work isn't real. So they'd try to make me sign non-disclosure agreements, and I wouldn't sell. There's no way I would sign them. So that would be it.
Can I ask questions after the end? No. I'll open up at the end. Don't worry. So, what would it take to convince you that the Earth is round? So, if you went into space, solid.
It wouldn't even take that. I don't even. That's something I was asked about years ago. I wouldn't even need to go to space to be convinced. There's two things you could do to convince me and most of the community without anybody getting up in a rocket. Which is put a 4K camera on the side of anything that's going to leave orbit, like Artemis, and have it point at the ground, point it at, at the terrain. And then as the rocket goes up, eventually the terrain's going to form into this nice, perfect globe. It's never happened in this history of space travel. There has never been any sort of footage on that level. Never ever seen it. That would be the first thing. And of course, now back in the day, it may have been tougher, but come on, it's 2026. We've got really great cheap cameras out there. And by the way, the Artemis program, that capsule that's supposedly going to be slingshotting around the moon, they should have at least a dozen external cameras on that thing. At least. It would cost almost nothing. The tech is easy to do. And even if you couldn't stream it live, you'd still have the 4K recordings by the time you got back. We're never going to see that. The other one would be, which was even the cheaper version, would be put me in a vacuum chamber, put me in a spacesuit of any era, anything going from the 60s all the way up till now, put me in a spacesuit, put me in a vacuum chamber, pull the switch, tell me how I don't die. And the reason I say that is because the spacesuit doesn't work. The spacesuit cannot work with physics as we know it, because the spacesuit is just it's just a thick balloon. That's all it is with a person inside. And if you guys go on YouTube or wherever you want and look up anything inside of a vacuum chamber, anything that's soft just expands and expands and expands until it explodes. It doesn't matter if it's a soda can or a juice box, or you pick it. Anything that's pressurized even slightly would just explode. So the spacesuit, why doesn't it turn into a balloon and get really rigid like a snare drum, and then the guy tips over and explodes and it dies and someone dies? It's never ever happened. They got away with it with Apollo and the moon, which is, oh yeah, they're just walking around. I have asked for this, not just you guys, but anyone in any country. I go, how do you know the Americans were on the moon? I've asked them this, you from what a random country in Europe, and they'll say, oh, because it was on television. And your news would never lie. I'm going, you don't know the Americans at all. Because of course we would lie. If it makes us look better as a country, we're lying, plain and simple. So anyway, that I put out that challenge years ago, and nobody took it. Nobody ever took it ever. And to this day, the challenge, it's an open challenge. No one's going to put me in a spacesuit though. They just won't. It's way too. There's on that note. Sorry, last thing. I know I'm rambling on this one, which is, look up anything, people, spacesuit in a vacuum chamber. The astronauts are really big about showing you all the swimming pool stuff that they test in, which is the exact opposite of what you would do with a spacesuit, because that's pressure coming in. But no, you won't see anything with astronaut in a vacuum chamber. You just won't.
Okay. I don't think it's a question I've ever asked before. Is this an act? Because some people, including myself,
for 11 years.
Yeah.
And I've never broken character ever. Oh no, I'm not that good. I mean, yeah, you hear stories in movies and television shows about people that are undercover for that long, but no, it's not an act. I started out because you want to give me the best evidence that it's not an act. I hated flat Earth, hated it. I literally, the part of the documentary where I said I was thinking about breaking my head on the keyboard because I couldn't believe that that's the conclusion I was coming to, that flat Earth is actually real. Oh no, that was actually the case. I consider myself a very clever problem solver, and I couldn't solve this one. And then when the internet's coming back saying, "Oh, dude, it's not nuts," I'm going, "What? No." I mean, I used to collect, and I've still got some globes, antique globes around here. I used to have world maps that would cover my framed world maps that were in different parts of the house. I started off in the negative. I loved the globe as an icon until I started staring at it. I was going, yeah, it doesn't make any sense from a physics standpoint. It does not make sense.
Let's see. Would you consider yourself a celebrity?
Only in the sense that I have a social media footprint. I have done the least amount possible to be a celebrity, meaning I didn't make my wiki page. I didn't make my IMDb page. I only control, somebody asked me that recently, and I go, the only thing I run is YouTube. That's it. I don't even try very hard on YouTube. And I apparently am in all these other platforms. I don't know who runs them. No one's ever told me who runs them. I guess, I mean, yeah, if you get recognized in some place, but celebrity status has changed. It's not like the old days where it was like there was movie stars and sports people and then everybody else. Social media is now, generated this whole new, all these different tiers of celebrity status. Is Logan Paul a celebrity? Sure. What does he do exactly? Except be a troll. He's still trolling now in wrestling. But that's how he started out, as a professional troll. Is that celebrity status? I don't know. I guess he could walk down the street and people would recognize him. If TMZ, okay, you know what? I didn't even think about this. If TMZ follows you to any extent, then yeah, you're probably a celebrity. I have not been on TMZ yet, so I'm going to exclude myself from that right now.
No Mark Sargent TMZ scandal?
No, but if that happens one day, God help me.
All right, let's see. I wanted to, the kids don't know anything about this. I'm subscribed. I'm an avid subscriber to your YouTube channel. I don't watch anything that you do, but I see that you post all because your stuff is very long. All your stuff is 2-3 hours long.
It's pretty long.
But there's this dude. What's his deal? He wears like light up glasses, and he looks like a millennial. I think his name's DJ something.
Oh, DJ Curious.
Yeah.
DJ's my current co-host. By the way, not all my stuff is long. DJ got me into it because he's a millennial. He got me into shorts, so now I've got a number of shorts. You should check out my shorts section. It's not.
All right, I'll maybe do that.
I don't like making shorts, but because they're too short, it's like, how much can you possibly retain in 60 seconds? But I take pride in that when you hear my audio, when I'm like talking really, really fast in the shorts, there is no audio editing. That is me reading a script as fast as I can with like 1 or 2 breaths. So I take some pride in that. As far as DJ is concerned, yeah, he is my current. He came on when Patricia came back on in 2024. And he is flash. He is glam. He is from Los Angeles. He used to be a headband model, believe it or not. And no, I love it because he's really ridiculously good looking, and so he distracts from me entirely. It's like people watch it. I mean, they'll hear what I'm saying, but they're looking at him most of the time. So no.
You're a good-looking guy, Mark.
No, not compared to someone like DJ. No. I used to look. I was a lot cuter growing up. My cute days are in the rearview mirror, quite a ways back. But I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. I was just wondering because I've seen him popping up on our YouTube channel the last, I don't know. Wow.
Oh, yeah. He is one of our flashier guys in the community. Again, he's my co-host, and I love him. He's awesome.
All right. Let's see. I guess we'll ask a flat Earth question since I haven't asked one in a little bit. Could you explain how the dome works on flat Earth? the dome.
How the dome works. Why is there a dome at all? If you are living here, remember all the world's a stage and we are just players in it, which means you live here. You're not this little tiny rock floating in space, covered by a little bit of water and a little bit of fog. You are living in a pressurized system. By the way, it's called air pressure for a reason. That's why, because it is, your atmosphere is actually held in by a dome. What's the dome made out of? I don't know. Electrical field of some sort, unified field, force field, heavy metal, heavy element. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but we can't break through it. That's for sure. I can't even tell you if anything's coming in or out of it. We tried, the United States and the Soviet Union tried firing atomic weapons at it for 4 years straight, from the 50s to late 50s to early 60s. And they couldn't bust through it. I don't know if anything can get through it. HARP, CERN, take your pick. But it's what keeps everything in. And it is controversial because even only maybe 3/4 of our community buy into the dome. There's others that say, well, it still looks like this, but there's no dome. And it's like, well, you're still going to have to deal with the whole pressure differential, which is space versus our atmosphere. Meaning if space is this infinite vacuum, and our atmosphere is sitting right next to it, and physics says that pressure cannot exist next to non-pressure without a barrier, how does that work exactly? So yeah, dome works for me perfect. Pressurized system, all totally good.
So in the documentary, what do you have to say about the experiments that were performed all those times, and that, like, especially the one at the end?
Right. One at the end. Okay, got it.
There's a couple of them between that, but like those experiments showing, like almost proving the Earth is round. What would you? What's your explanation for that?
Oh no, I know that's fine. No, Jaron really screwed up with that one because he did not have line of sight. And if you guys don't know what that means, is we didn't even know when he did that experiment. Oh God, what he was trying to do was shoot a laser, and theoretically, and we've done it over water, we've done it over salt flats, we've done it over all sorts of fun things, frozen lakes. In other countries, where if you shoot a laser, will go perfectly flat. So you should be able to see a laser from point A to point B, right? Well, he caught so much hell because of the Netflix documentary that all of a sudden, next thing you know, he's doing a live stream from that location, which was quite a ways from his house. And all of a sudden he says, oh, wow. He goes, just so you guys know, this is the first time I've come out here in the daytime. It's like, what are you talking about? You never even went out there to scope the area out before you did this. You just brought the film kill. By the way, you guys, if you're ever doing anything in social media, never do it the first time live. Ever, 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 ever. So basically he went out to a place, you know, this kind of gulchy thing where water is flowing, and he thought it was flat because Google Maps said it was mostly flat. And it's like, there's a difference between mostly flat and like airport runway flat, or salt flats, or calm body of water flat. So the short version was, it wasn't flat where he was out there, and he didn't realize it until months later. So, but the documentary team was like, oh, no, we're using this. They were pissed off anyway, because he had them fly up twice from LA to San Francisco. The first time, as you saw, the laser melted, because you guys know, if you're using high-powered lasers, you can't leave them on constantly. You just can't. You've got to turn them off and cool them down. And the first time it melted, and then he called back, no, I totally got it this time. And that's the one they used for the end of the movie. It was a pain in the ass. So no, there's no problem there at all, in my opinion. We've done way more experiments. By the way, the documentary team was really good about not showing all our other experiments that we did. They wanted to do something live with, you know, in this case it was Jaron, and Jaron screwed it up. Plain and simple.
Okay. All right. I guess we'll open it up. Who wants to ask a question?
Questions. Who has questions? Any questions?
He doesn't have to, Peyton.
Oh, I have a question.
Peyton has one, of course.
Earlier you said that you believe that space isn't real. So does that mean you don't believe that the sun is real, or Mars, or any of that stuff?
Nothing. What you see in the sky, when you're looking up at the sky at night, I'm not trying to freak you guys out or anything. I mean, you're not doing drugs currently, so you should be fine. Which is, everything in the sky is just lights. That's it. You are looking at a ceiling. No different than if you're the inside of a planetarium. I know it dates me, and I know you guys have probably never been to a planetarium. You probably should go before they all close, because no one cares anymore. But a planetarium, when you sit down inside it, you're just looking on, you're just looking at pretty lights. In fact, you look up there and say, oh wow, there's Jupiter on the ceiling of this planetarium. Can you see the moons of Jupiter on that ceiling? Yes, you can. Can you get there? No. Why? Because you're in a planetarium. Who's to say that when you walk outside of that one, you're just not in a much bigger planetarium? So yes, everything, and I mean stars, the sun, the moon, you name it, it is all just a highly decorative clock system that predates language. That's all it is. You are in a soundstage. You are living in a building that's just very, very, very big, and no one, and the people that do know aren't going to tell you because they're afraid you're going to freak out.
Any other questions?
So what do you think is outside the dome if it isn't space?
Good question. Here's what I'll say. If this world that you're living in, the world that we know, the world that you see every day, is 99% conflict, and I mean that literally, meaning it doesn't matter how rich, how powerful, how beautiful, how talented you are, you always have something to complain about. You are always in a state of conflict. Always, always, always. The moments of bliss are few and far between. Then I believe in dualism, which is whatever is outside of this place has to be 99.9% unlimited. And if you want to call it heaven, Shambhala, Nirvana, whatever it is, but I think it's cyclical. I think we go back and forth and back and forth. I think this place is more or less a school. See what I did there? I tied it into the whole school thing. The school that you guys live in that's meant to teach you perspective all the time. And then when you get out of here, the unlimited universe is brand new and you appreciate it that much more. Without it, what do you really appreciate it? I treat it kind of like, I know you probably don't have any trust fund kids there in that school, but you might, if you ever even know what a trust fund kid is, the child of a celebrity or someone that owns a monstrous business or, just a standalone billionaire, those children usually turn out horrible because they can't appreciate anything because they have no perspective. So whatever's outside of this place, I believe it's unlimited, but I know that it's not space because space is just a straight up illusion.
Any other questions? We got time.
We got time. What do you got? You can ask me anything. I don't care.
What's it called? What are some other conspiracy theories you believe in?
Oh, I gotta walk gingerly on this one because there's certain things that we're not allowed to talk about in school, and that alone is a conspiracy in itself. But I'll give you a couple. And I'll for the teacher's sake, I will be careful. Do I think I'll use the old ones? Do I think that JFK, our former president, was killed by a lone gunman then that guy was then in turn killed by another lone gunman? It sounds a little fishy. It sounds like a bit of a stretch. I wouldn't write that into a television show. Let's put it that way. Do I think Pearl Harbor was allowed to be attacked so the Americans that could enter the war, because that's the only reason that Americans used to go to war, was because of revenge? It's easy to get people to fight for revenge. Yes, I do. Do I think that Elvis is still alive? No, I do. No, I don't. Do I think that Bigfoot is around? Possibly, but do I think that Bigfoot and Elvis have gotten together and Bigfoot is having Elvis's baby? No, probably not. But I'll give you a quick definition of a conspiracy, which is, and this is one, this is exclusive basically just to me. I'm the one that came up with this one, which was, if you want to know what a conspiracy is, just by definition is when 3 or more people conspire to do something either illegal or unethical, right? Happens in business and politics and sports and entertainment, and yes, even science and journalism. It happens in those areas all the time. I could spend an entire day on any one of those. But one of my favorites would be the Panama Canal. Wonderful conspiracy. And people are saying, wait, Panama Canal, who the hell cares about that? It's like, well, in most engineering projects, like when you build a building or a dam or something like that, you lose people to construction accidents. Like the Hoover Dam, I think we lost, 30, 40 people. I might be wrong with the numbers, but it wasn't huge. It definitely wasn't triple digits, right? So, from construction accidents. The Panama Canal, which was essentially a ditch, right? Nobody was falling off of anything, right? Just a ditch. They were carving through Panama to make a waterway. Do you know how many people died during that? better part of 6,000. 6,000 civilians died in a relatively short amount of time, making the Americans making that Panama Canal. And you're going, what's the conspiracy? And you want to know how they died. It's like, as soon as I say this, your attitude's gonna change. I go, well, they died of malaria and yellow fever, and you go, well, that happens in the jungle, right? People die of malaria. It's like, yeah, but we knew they were going to die. We knew we were going to lose that many. In fact, we knew we were fully prepared to lose up to 10,000 people in that project because we didn't start the Panama Canal. The French did. The French started it, and they lost so many people because they didn't even have mosquito netting, repellent, or anything. They lost over 20,000 to where the French they were having protests in Paris to where they just pulled it. That's it, we're done, and they walked away from the whole thing just before 1900. So what's the conspiracy? The conspiracy is this: at no point did we tell people that when you went down there, hey, I'm going to sign up for the Panama Canal. It sounds like a great business opportunity. You know, no point did we tell them there was a pretty good chance you might die, and you definitely were going to get sick. But if you went down with a bunch of buddies, you know, like 10 guys, it's like, oh, no, you're not all coming back, right, from this. The conspiracy is, do the ends justify the means? Meaning, was the Panama Canal worth it to sacrifice that many men? Yes. So for those of you, and it'll take some of you a while, because I'm sure some in this class will be like, well, you can't put a price on human life. You're going to learn that really quick. You absolutely can. We do it all the time in this country. 6,000 men, yeah, it seems like a lot, but the Panama Canal was a fantastic investment. Huge military choke point, massive. The toll road is some of the most expensive toll road in the world. And we made millions and millions and millions of dollars off of it. We've done it with all sorts of things. Sacrifice sacrifice the Alamo. Sacrifice a couple hundred soldiers in the Alamo, and what do you get? You get the motivation to take Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, great name, by the way, because it used to be Old Mexico, and the worthless piece of real estate called California. Trillions of dollars in real estate for sacrificing a fort full of men. Same thing with the battleship Maine for the Spanish-American War. Same thing with Lusitania for World War I, and so on and so on. And the Gulf of Tonkin for the Vietnam War. So what was the initial thing? Oh, yeah. So, yeah, conspiracies. They happen all the time. The question you have to ask yourself when you look at them, and I know I'm rambling, which is, do the ends justify the means? Can you look at a conspiracy and say, okay, I understand why they did it? It may be unethical and may be unpleasant, but at least you can understand why they did it. And you may not have made the same decision, but at least you'll know. There you go.
Any other questions? Janai, go ahead.
He can hear me?
Yeah, he can hear you. Just talk like I am.
Okay, so do you believe in God, and like, do you believe in the Bible? Because on the fourth day of the creation, it says God made the sun, moon, and stars. Then he separated the day and night. So I was wondering if you believe in God.
Oh, yeah. You bet I do. As a matter of fact, you didn't finish that, which was he created the firmament that separated the waters above and the waters below. And the firmament, of course, we grabbed onto that really quick, which would be the dome, which is, look at, if you get a chance, and I want to mention this first, which is, check out a wonderful website done by the late Rob Skiba called testingtheglobe.com. He was a friend of mine who died during the pandemic, and he was a biblical prophecy guy, and he went through the Bible with a fine-tooth comb, and he comes back and he calls me, and he goes, it's a flat earth book. He goes, the Bible is absolutely flat earth from beginning to end. He goes, there's only one verse that even hints at something other than flat, which is Isaiah 40:22, which says, he who sitteth upon the circle of the earth. But in Hebrew, circle is a different word from ball or globe or sphere. And by the way, you can always tell if somebody's not really a flat earther because they'll use the word round. We use ball or globe or sphere. Round can mean, can be two-dimensional like a dinner plate. So yes, absolutely, I believe in God. I was raised evangelical Christian, with people that had John 3:16 tattoos, that sort of thing. I fell away from it when I got into tech, because the tech world does not care about religion. Your average science nerd doesn't really care. And then when I got into flat earth, I got back into it because, and so did a lot of people in the church, which is why we have Christian flat earth conferences, and I'm not even invited to because I can't quote enough chapter and verse. Because if this place was built Then it was created, and it was created. Well, who was it created by? And that's when the Christian community really jumped on it and said, yeah, that God built this place for us, just for us, and that space might be an illusion, but it's His illusion, and it was done as a test.
Any other questions I'll have for him?
So back to my question, or back to earlier, you said that you feel like everything is fake. The sun, the moon, Mars. Who do you think created that? Like, who do you think is making this show like fake?
Who do I think? So the question is, who built this place?
Basically.
Okay. So who built this place? Excellent question, and I don't think anyone in the other classes asked that. Which is, well, you really have to one of two things, right? Which is, it's either an advanced civilization that's much more powerful than ourselves, that has way more advanced engineering than we do. I mean, we can build a lot of great things, no question. We can build small versions of that. Look at the Truman Show, great fictional movie. And you're saying, well, that was a movie. It's like, well, we could have built that if we really wanted to. It would have been an expensive and a really waste of money, because social media would have blown the whole thing away. So either advanced civilization is more powerful than ourselves, or the divine, right? Some sort of divine power. But at that point, you're really splitting hairs, because one man's advanced tech is another man's divinity. So come on, if a giant golden spaceship landed in the middle of, I don't know, Kansas right now, you'd have different groups of people, they would say, wow, look at that. The nerds would be fascinated, but they're not going to build churches, to whoever comes out. Let's say it's the blue people from Avatar that come out of the freaking ship. The other people would be like, oh no, we must start building churches to the blue people. So I'm kind of torn, because the question is, did God build this, capital G, or did God subcontract out the work? I kind of lean to the subcontract, which is, do I think they're more powerful than us? Yes. Do I think they're one notch closer to knowing God's phone number? Sure. But I think that God oversees a bunch of these, because this, by the way, wouldn't be a one-off, not by any stretch. There would be a whole bunch of these in different stages of development, and I think capital G looks over all of them.
Any other questions y'all have for Mark? Because we're getting towards the end. It's perfectly someone who has not asked, but if you want to re-ask, go ahead.
Do you believe in reincarnation?
Ooh, that's a good question. By the way, no one's ever asked me that. Do I believe in reincarnation? Yes and no. Boy, we don't have time necessarily to get into that, but I do, but not in the way that you think. Meaning, I believe that you do, that when you come into a place like this, there's more than one place like this, because the argument against reincarnation has always been, why do so many people they think they were Cleopatra or Napoleon or all this? And it's like, because there can only be one Napoleon here, one Cleopatra, unless of course there's more than one of these. And if there is, well, then it's very, very possible. So yes, I do believe in reincarnation, but not in the standard sense, meaning that it's reincarnation at one world and people come back and, that there's only one world to deal with. I think it's reincarnation, but with many more worlds besides this.
We're getting to the end, Mark.
Okay.
How long is it going to take long to answer? What's your question?
But if you believe in that we are on Earth and there's worlds, then how do you not believe that there is the sun or the planets? Because technically we are a planet. Find out this is fake.
Can you repeat the question? That one didn't come through very clear.
Say it a little louder, Hayden.
No. Can you say it?
So he was saying, if you're saying like there's multiple worlds, right?
Yep.
Then how could there not be like a space or a universe almost? That's
okay. Well, that's a good question. But the thing there is, why, if there are multiple worlds, then there's an efficiency to the building process. Meaning, why would you waste space? Even Carl Sagan, and I know you guys don't know who Carl Sagan is, but there's a lot of astrophysicists over the years that have always wondered, why is space so empty? Meaning, space is 99.9999% absolute nothingness in it. No molecules at all. So why would it be empty? Well, it's not empty. It's an illusion. So I always envision it as tables and tables and tables, when you want to call it God's tables or an advanced civilization, with a whole bunch of these. And the question there is, do they get to interact with each other, or is there any cross-pollination at all? I doubt it, because I wouldn't let any civilization like ours spread out there and mess things up in other places. So there doesn't have to be space. That's the short answer. Why? If 99.9% of the people in this world believe the illusion, that's what you go with. Meaning, why there doesn't have to be space. If people believe in space, hey, great, fantastic. But it's why spend the resources on it to look into the double slit experiment and how things are done there? But you don't have to have space if the population just believes in it, because they're never going there anyway. That's the other point, which is believe in space, you're not going there. Kind of like the Mars mission, which we'll talk about till doomsday. It's never ever going to happen.
All right. Well, thank you for answering questions for us, Mark.
Yep.
I think our next interview will be in like basically an hour-ish.
Okay.
Like a little low. I think it's like what time does 7:30 start? 2:08.
I've got it down at like 2:14 your time.
Yes, that's what it is. 2:14. Yes. So it'll be
Yep.
12:14 for you. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Mark. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day.
Yep.
We appreciate you so much. See you in maybe a little over an hour.
Thank you guys, and again, thank you for being the most religious class of the group.
Yes.
I didn't get any religious questions.
Other
before.
class ask religious questions. You're the only
Yeah.
one.
So thank you guys.
All right. Thank you, Mark.
All right, see you guys.
Thanks for being on the call with us and answering our questions today.
Yeah.
We really appreciate the time you're taking. I know you're not getting paid for this. You're taking the time out of your day. This is his 4th interview of the day, right? So this is y'all's 4th class. So he's been on the call all day. So, nice guy, great guy,
Yeah. So your questions better be good, because this is your last chance.
Yes. So I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to answer questions for us.
Yep.
Have a fun time, all that good stuff. So is there anything you would like to say, or anything like that before we get started with some questions and asking stuff?
No, in case I forget, whenever the class is over, you can just find me by typing in Flat Earth Mark into anything, and you'll eventually find me. So let's get started with the questions.
All right. So we'll get started with the current event, because I know I've asked this question every time, but it's a nice current event topic with the space thing that happened yesterday, right? The astronaut, remember?
Right.
Remember the documentary? NASA, you think it's fake, right? So what do you think of the space, of the space exploration that was happening as of yesterday? What's your opinion on that?
Artemis 2 was disappointing even by my standards, which was I was hoping they would make more of a show of it. It's like, yeah, fine, the launch pad stuff was great, but once it got about 8 or 9 minutes in, that was it. The external cameras are non-existent. The internal cameras are barely existent. They're not going to show you really anything until 10 days from now, when supposedly they're coming back and see if the heat shields make it or not. It's just another one of the space program being faked since it was built in 1958.
Okay. All right. So I have questions. They're not in any particular category. It's some personal, some not personal, some flat earth stuff, right? It's a little bit mixed and everything. So I'm not going in any particular order. So I'll just kind of jump around with all these questions that these guys came up through. So let's see. We'll start off. Let's see. Is it hard? I haven't asked this question. Is it hard to explain your beliefs to people when you first meet them? Is it hard to explain?
It was 10 years ago, that's for sure, because a lot of people didn't even know what we were talking about. I remember an interview I did with, or it was a debate I did with Stanton Friedman, the late Stanton Friedman, who was one of the big UFO guys. And you remember, he comes from the UFO side of the conspiracy world. And I remember we were in the debate maybe 10 minutes, and all of a sudden he stops and he goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're saying this like flat Earth isn't a metaphor for something else, right? You're saying that it's a literal thing, like it's real. And I go, yeah, it's a literal real thing. And he pauses and he goes, well, how does that work? So now, 10 years later, I think everyone's got a pretty good idea of what flat Earth is, that you're living in this instead of a globe. But It can be. It really depends. I've gotten pretty good at reading the room. So what I try to do is I basically ask them, which kind of tied to your first question, do you believe the Americans went to the moon? Right? That's usually my opening. And if they do, depending on how they react to that, if they do, all of a sudden they get all teary-eyed and they look up and they go, "Those brave boys," and a single tear rolls down their face, then I probably won't follow up with flat Earth. But if they're skeptical at all about the American space program, then yeah, I'm already halfway in the door.
All right. Tell us about your life before flat Earth. What were you doing? Well, all that stuff
Before flat Earth, I was a professional video game player. That's how I started. I won a world tournament back in '94. I cheated, but hey, you know what? If you're really competitive, the old saying is true from Vince Lombardi, from the Lombardi Trophy in the NBA and the NFL, which is winning isn't everything; it's the only thing. So I won, and the company, unfortunately, the company that made the game hired me. So they took me out to Boulder, Colorado, and I lived in Colorado for 20 years. And I worked teaching people proprietary software for 20 years. And then in 2015, that's when I made the Flat Earth Clues. And that's what I've been doing ever since. For the last 11 years, I've been doing this. I've been writing books on the subject. I've been making a lot of social media content, and I've been doing interviews and public speaking events.
Okay. What about college? I know I've told these guys that. Well, it was in the documentary, but I want you to tell that story. It's always a fun one.
Okay, if you guys want the full story, and honestly, I do recommend it because it's there. The very first podcast I ever did, you can look it up on my channel, which it's called Fireworks. Literally, the Strange World episode 1 is called Fireworks. It's 2 hours on how I started an illegal fireworks business on campus up in Washington State, and hired 30 people to work for me, and it was really, really great. That back before 9/11, so there wasn't much of a stigma there. Making explosives on campus, making boom, big booms, M80s, M100s, quarter-6, half sticks, that sort of thing. And one of my people, one of my future ex-girlfriends, she ratted me out to the feds, tried to blackmail me. I called her bluff. Never call the bluff on a woman. Ever, ever, ever. Men will talk a lot of smack. If a woman threatens you, do not just wave it off. Don't do it. And she called the feds, and I got busted for it, and but learned my lesson. And then through that, I got into computer gaming, which led me into to Colorado and led me here. So without the fireworks thing, I'm not even talking to you right now. But it's a fun story. Seriously, if you get a chance, check it out. It's a good listen.
Okay. Let's see which one we want next. I guess I'll ask you a flat Earth question now.
Okay.
Explain. You're holding your model up. Explain how the dome works. Explain
the dome. Bless you. The dome. All right. So if you are living on a flat disc, you're basically living in a sound stage, a big planetarium, terrarium. The North Pole's in the center. All the continents basically look the same. Antarctica does not look the same, though. It's stretched around the outside like a giant barrier, not like a Game of Thrones ice wall, but much bigger. And then it's covered in some sort of dome, whatever the dome's made out of. I don't care if it's a force field or a heavy element or a heavy water. It can't be broken through. We tried with atomic weapons, the United States and the Soviet Union, for 4 years from the late 50s and 1960s. And that's what creates air pressure and global warming and everything else you can think of. Everything makes way more sense inside this than it does in a globe. There you go.
All right. Well, thank you for explaining that.
Yep.
I'll ask another one relating to flat Earth. How deep does flat Earth go? Is there something underneath flat Earth? What's around flat Earth? What is
How deep? Okay, we'll do the deep part and then we'll do the around part. So how thick is this thing? Well, it's probably not this thick. We just made this because we have some electronics on here to run all the gizmos. But the deepest hole ever drilled is not what you think it is. If you go by the globe standards, you've all seen the cross section of the globe with red and orange and yellow and white center, and each band is like a perfect 1,000 miles thick. And you're going, wow, how do they know this? They don't know this at all. If it's a globe, then you have to dig down 4,000 miles to get to the center of the Earth. The deepest hole ever drilled, what do you think it is? It's not even half that. It's not 2,000. It's not 1,000. It's not 100. It's not even 10. It's 8 miles. That's the deepest hole ever drilled by anyone. The Russians tried to break through that barrier, the 8-mile barrier, for years. So the Germans never got anywhere. So, and you can look up in Wiki. It's right there for you. It's like it might as well say science has no idea what's down there. We're just extrapolating from volcanoes. It's our best guess. It's my only real complaint about science is it won't put question marks in the middle of anything. The globe should just be the globe with a question mark in the center of it because they don't know. Oh, and as far as what's on the outside of it, I don't know. I don't think there's just one of these, if that's what you mean. Whoever built this was probably good enough to make a whole bunch of them, and by that I mean capital G or an advanced technology or whatever you want to call it, whatever tickles your fancy. But whatever's outside of here is the exact opposite of what's inside of here. So if this world is, and I'm sure everyone here would agree, this world is 99.9% conflict, meaning doesn't matter how beautiful, how talented, how rich, how powerful you are, you always have something to complain about. Always, always, always. Find anyone who doesn't complain about something. You may have some happy moments, but hardly anyone is just sitting there on a park bench just smiling incessantly. You'd walk by them and like, that person's obviously nuts, right? So whatever's outside of this world, I believe in dualism, is the exact opposite. So I don't care if you call it heaven or Shambhala or Nirvana or, again, whatever religion you follow, but that's what I believe we're in the middle of. We're in a cyclical process where we just go in and out of these places.
All right. So we'll take it back to the documentary. In the documentary, I haven't asked this today. You wear a T-shirt with their name on it. Why do you do that?
That was the producer's idea, which was I by the way, I don't even sell T-shirts on my thing. I have no idea who makes the T-shirts. People just come up with T-shirts, back in the day. Now, of course, everybody sells freaking T-shirts. I still don't sell them. So I got sent shirts all the time. That was a reference to, I Am Mark Sargent was a reference to a 1999 movie with Brad Pitt and Ed Norton called Fight Club, which was, if you remember Fight Club, I know 1999 is a long time ago. If you haven't watched it, it was one of the best movies of that year, where a guy died and he didn't have a name, and so they named him. It's like they figured out his name. His name is Robert Paulson, and they was like, "Oh, we're all Robert Paulson." And since they kind of tied it to me, all part of the Flat Earth cult. So it's like we're all Mark Sargent, therefore I am Mark Sargent. Somebody sent me this shirt, and the producers were like, "Hey, you know what? That shirt's kind of fun. Let's go with that." And so I wore it. I don't have that one anymore. They're out there on the internet somewhere. So yeah, that's where it came from. It was not an ego thing in any way, shape, or form. And most people don't even know what to make of it anyway. It's like, what is he saying? What is he trying to say with that shirt? I had no idea. I didn't make it.
So let's see. Still documentary. Tell us about your relationship with Patricia. In case y'all don't remember, the redheaded chick.
The redheaded chick, yeah.
They know her. They know her.
Patricia and I met first online back in 2015, and that's when we had our relationship. And then that ended a year before. Not even more than a year before we even started shooting the documentary. But because she was in it and they knew there was some sort of history there, they made it seem much more current. So the clips that they used were from various other things. They kind of stitched them together with some nice music and stuff. And they made it seem like we were in a relationship that then went to, then was downplayed to the whole friends thing. It's like, no, we were always, that's not to say that I wasn't put in the friend zone. Our relationship ended, and look, I was just happy I got to spend time with her because she was way, way prettier than me. And I've got a montage, as a matter of fact, of shots from her. She's one of those people that you love to hate, where when she turned 13, she became beautiful, and she stayed that way all the way through. I mean, was she now 60? She's gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous.
All right. Let's see. Let's see all these questions we got. So why were you living with your mother? Obviously, you're not living with your mom now. You're in some, it looks like an apartment or something like that. But
Yes,
why
yes.
were you living with, I mean, your mother during the time of recording the
That was an idea of the producers in New York that I was talking to initially. There was a woman from a group called True Television, and she goes, because I was in Colorado when I started this, and she goes, you have to leave. You got to go somewhere, and you have to put your stuff in storage or something, because you're going to be traveling around talking about this with various people. Not going, okay, sure. I mean, she was way ahead of this. I had no idea that the instincts on that one. And so I called up my family in Washington. I said, hey, can I hang out for a while? And they said yes. And it was actually a good thing because, yeah, I was not home that much. I was constantly in and out, flying and doing stuff. So, yeah, that's why I was there. And it worked out pretty well, because she ended up signing the waiver, which you have to sign to be in a documentary, and it tested well. A lot of people don't know that just because you're in a documentary doesn't mean you're going to be in the final cut. You could hit the cutting room floor, and they go, "Oh yeah, works." So I was glad she'll be forever immortalized.
That's good. How's your mother doing? And also, does she believe in the flat earth?
She's good. She's 83 now, just had her 83rd birthday. She does believe, and how could she not? I mean, she has seen my stuff now for 11 years. She was in the doc. You can't be in the documentary and not pick up some things. So yeah, she supports me now. She doesn't go to meetups and conferences, but I was lucky enough. One of my favorite moments was taking her to a film festival for Behind the Curve. I don't know if I ever told you that, where we sat in the audience. We didn't tell anybody we were going, and we sat in the audience and watched it. And that was the first time. I remember she was kind of nodding off before the movie came on, and then the first time she saw herself on the big screen, she just grabbed my arm and really hard. She goes, "What have we done?" I go, "It'll be fine. Don't worry about it." And then then it just got worse from there.
All right. Well, that's a good story.
Yeah.
Is there prospects on a Mrs. Sargent?
I don't know. Maybe. I've never been married, and most of it was just circumstance. I kind of treated it like I think I told you a couple of years ago that my social life was kind of like a square dance. If anyone ever square dances out there, do-si-do, turn around, and all of a sudden your partner's gone. And that's what I ran into most of the time. They moved, things happened. It was just circumstance. But I've dated some wonderful flat earth women since I got into this over the last 10, 11 years. And I don't know. Is marriage in the cards? I'm not going to completely discount it, but I've got kind of high bar in that I really only want to marry for true love. I don't want to marry for convenience or tax reasons or anything like that. So that's what I'm looking for.
Well, good. Let's see. Let's ask a flat earth question. We'll get you those questions here. So let's ask a flat earth question, since I've asked you a couple interview ones about the documentary. Let's see. What flat earth questions do we have on here that we haven't asked yet?
Are all these student questions so far?
Yes, all these are basically student questions.
Wonderful.
There's usually all overlap. Obviously, they all want to know a lot of the same stuff. All the classes.
Sure. Yeah.
So, but I'm trying to find questions that I haven't asked you today.
Okay.
Let's see.
Can you fall off the earth?
We're not taking good questions right now.
Can you fall off the earth? No. For the same reason, could you fall off of this? No. Could you fall off because you're basically looking at a lake in the middle of a giant building. And if Antarctica is the edge, I know you guys probably don't study that much about geography, but Antarctica, even by mainstream standards, is pretty unusual. It starts out, with a 200-foot, block of ice when you get there, and then what a lot of people don't know is the highest continent that we have, where it slopes up to almost 14,000 feet. That's the average altitude of Antarctica, and I mean, come on, altitude sickness kicks in at about half that. So yeah, the water's not going anywhere. So no, you're not falling off. Even if you could make it to the edge, the firmament would stop you.
What
What a good,
about
what a good question. I hear that every once in a while.
this is one I haven't asked today, and I think it's a good one. What is the average day in the life of you with flat Earth? An average flat Earth day in the life.
Average flat Earth day. Wow.
You're making a day in the life video.
It starts out pretty routine. I go out and I feed the deer and the squirrels and the rabbits and everything else that's running around the forest here on the island. And then I go through the news feeds. That's the first thing I do. I go through CNN, Fox, BBC, RT, which is Russia Today, some of the fringe conspiracy forums, which I'm not going to name, and TMZ just for the heck of it. Why not check and see what's going on there? And then I answer emails. I set up interviews like these. I do promos for the conferences and the meetups and prep for the podcasts. I do a podcast on Tuesdays, a weekly podcast, and then kind of check in with people on various things. Even though I don't like social media because it's a pain in the ass and there's too many things, I have to check. Like, for example, I just got WhatsApp recently for something. It's like, okay, now I got to check WhatsApp on a regular basis. Or I still don't have an Instagram account. The what?
No young people use WhatsApp. So
what's that? Well, they do in Europe. Europe, it's like that's the thing over there. I mean, I do have Telegram. It's like our version. It's like their version of Telegram. And then that's basically what I do all day. And then every once in a while, I'll head out and to wherever I'm going to go, whether it be a meetup in a different state and now that the borders have opened up, something in another country, and look for projects and opportunities and just kind of feel the day out and see what comes in from the flat Earth community, which is pretty big.
I don't know if I asked, just in general, what are your hobbies? What do you like to do outside of flat Earth? Hobbies.
I like hiking. I like basketball. I like windsurfing, and not the crazy windsurfing. I'm not an adventure sport type guy. I like the big boards, like the old giant Hawaiian surfboard type windsurfing. I don't get any air time. Let's put it that way. And then when I have quiet moments, I absorb pretty much all media. So I've run out of things to watch on Netflix and all the streaming services. Play games. But I don't play a lot. I'm more of a classic gamer. I gave up Warcraft 6 years ago, finally after 16 years. Fallout, stuff like that, and then my guilty pleasure games. But I keep myself pretty busy.
All right. We open it up to the audience. Audience questions.
Do you believe
What?
Shut up, Andrew.
What?
You raise your hand, of course. Appropriate questions only, right?
Oh, I don't care. What?
All right. He'll answer first, no flat Earth, but you can ask him yourself appropriate questions, of course, right?
Whatever it is.
Matthew in the front, go ahead, ask him your question.
Okay, so based on what you said about the deep drill,
Yeah.
Did you ever think that the drill was broken because of friction?
Sure, why not? But there's no way around that in any way, shape, or form. There's no place around that. There's no pocket of where the heat is lesser to where you could punch through it. I think it's a little unusual that once you get down to 8 miles and you work on it for 20 years, you can't get past it. Now, personally, between you and me and whoever else is probably listening, I would probably cheat and use atomic weapons. Like the military is not shy about using atomic weapons to build underground things, to carve out caves, explosives. And so that's what I would try to go for. Once the drill bit fails, why not use explosives to try to go down? But so far, nothing. Look it up. It's just really unusual to me that even though we've got movies that talk about going to the core of the Earth, 8 miles, that's it. In fact, nobody's even trying. Nobody's been trying for the last 10, 15 years now. So I was like, nope, we just give up.
Next one, Matt.
Okay, earlier in the interview, you called it a cult. What do you mean by that?
Oh, by definition. I'm not shy about leaning into that one, where by definition, you can look it up, a cult is any group with a belief system that's considered strange or sinister. And why? I mean, definitely strange. In fact, I love one of the things I didn't know this till way later is that if you put my last name into Scrabble, you know, the Scrabble helper, it only comes up with one word, which is strange. I love that. But yeah, it's very similar to some of the religious things, which is we use some religious words and terms, you know, lots of leaps of faith. I mean, granted, we don't have a compound and we don't have robes, and there's very little chanting and almost no ritual killings. So yeah, what else? I mean, by definition, which is why if anyone asks me in the future, that's what I'm going to say. It'd be like, oh, would you consider flat earth a cult? It's like, yeah, only by definition though. You know, we're not Heaven's Gate, we're not the Branch Davidian, and we're definitely not the People's Temple. If you guys don't know what that is, look up Kool-Aid. That's where the term comes from. So yeah, we're a much friendlier, nicer version, but I'm not going to say that we're not a cult.
All right, who's next? Has asked a question. You can ask them. I promise you. Go ahead.
How did the earth get created?
How did the earth get created? How did this get created? All right, good one. That was asked during the last.
That was the one that we live on.
Say that one more time.
Let them talk. You round earth. You go back to the flat earth.
No,
part.
I'm talking about the flat earth. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter whether it's round earth or flat earth. By the way, I can always tell if somebody's not fully invested in flat earth because they'll use the word round, like your teacher. Because oh no, I'm just saying no, it's a dead giveaway because round, when you get into flat earth long enough, eventually you don't use the word round anymore because round can be two-dimensional like a dinner plate or a hubcap. We use we use sphere or ball or globe. But as far as who built this, whether we're talking about the globe or this, really it comes down to one of two things: either an advanced civilization that's more powerful than our own and much, much older, or the divine. And at that point, you're kind of splitting hairs. I'm not trying to diminish God in any way, but what I'm saying is one man's advanced technology is another man's divine, skill set. So that's what we're kind of looking at. I could go either way, but come on, let's face it. If all of a sudden somebody showed up, and it might happen one day, a giant golden spaceship lands in the middle of St. Louis or Dallas or wherever, it doesn't really matter. You're going to have two groups of people that are going to look at it. Some are going to look at it, it's like, oh, and it's an advanced civilization. And other people are being like, we need to build churches immediately to start worshiping those people. And if you think I'm kidding, start watching some more movies. It would happen. So, but for me, because I was raised in an evangelical Christian home, where John 3:16 was burned into our brains before, we were old enough to talk, then yeah, I'm a big believer in the divine. But at the same time, I believe that God probably subcontracts out the work. So God oversees a whole bunch of these, but whoever's controlling this specifically, I think might be, more of a superintendent or an administrator.
Thank you, Mark. Yes, that's what we kind of want, or more or less asking, was that last part you said. So.
What do you want to?
Hey, Nasco, go ahead. Say that loud.
You have to speak up. I can't hear very. What do you got?
Do you think
Go ahead.
What do you get paid for?
How do I make money?
Yes.
Okay. The standard stuff when you get into social media, although I didn't really start out at social media, I kind of skipped past it. I started writing books along the lines. So I found a publisher that wanted to talk about it, although books don't make a ton of money. I make a little bit off social media, and then I make some from public speaking engagements and or the occasional endorsement. Endorsements are if you can land one or two of those in a year, oh my God, that really does a great thing for you. Lots of people on social media would love a big endorsement. Most have to settle for advertising on their channel. I don't do any Patreon or anything like that on my channel. I don't officially endorse products. So, like this week we're sponsored by whatever. No, I don't do any of that. I also got lucky with real estate back in the day, so I've gotten to coast a little bit on some things. So the pressure isn't on me as it is with some of the younger social media people. There you go.
Have you ever tried to do trades?
What was it? What was that? Have I ever tried what?
Like stocks, that's what she's referring to. Have you ever done like the stock market? That's what she's referring to.
Oh, stock market. No. Oh boy, you don't want me to get started on the stock market. The stock market is basically just hopefully nobody here has family in the stock market. The stock market is just gambling for people who don't want to go to the track. That's all it really is. And once the government, and I watched it happen. Look, I'm older. Once the government started doing unlimited buying of bonds, and then they switched over to where the government can buy private stocks and not disclose it. That's why the stock market went from, and you're not old enough to remember, the original financial crisis, which was not that long ago, it went from 7 to 50,000 in what, 20 years? Barely, not even 20 years. It's crazy the amount of, if you would have told that to a stock person back in the day, and by that I mean 20 years ago, they'd just laugh you out of the room. So the fact that the stock market, what does it say, 46, 47, it doesn't really matter. It's way too high. The stock market shouldn't even be 30. And it's way higher than it was. So no, I try to stay away from it because it's a rigged game, and I got better things to do with my time than worry. And to that extent, by the way, because you asked, I will never touch crypto, ever in a million years. I'm old enough to remember where crypto came from. Crypto, the origin of crypto is a dark place. Look up something called Silk Road. It started in Europe. And it is a bad thing, and it is so easily corruptible. And you think that insider trading in the stock market is bad? Oh no, crypto is a nightmare by comparison. I couldn't even imagine. I had friends that are into crypto and they can't even sleep because the saying is, oh, I bought a boat by breakfast and then I was out on the street by dinner. So there you go. Sorry, it's my little mini rant on financial.
Go ahead, Aaron.
Do you believe in aliens?
Yeah, I do. For a couple reasons. But do I think, for example, that they are that they're from Mars and Venus and take your pick of whatever planet or whatever galaxy? No, I do not. I started out, before I was even into flat Earth, I was into night vision. You can buy some really great night vision stuff and go. Colorado is a wonderful place to do it because it's high altitude. And I would lay on my back, and somebody actually recommended, they go, dude, you want to see some weird stuff, get some night vision, start watching the sky. You start looking up the sky, and the sky is just crawling with things. And I thought they were satellites initially. I'm going, oh, this is boring. It's just a whole bunch of satellites that no one can see with the naked eye. And then the satellites started moving around and doing things that satellites aren't supposed to do, flying in formation and, accelerate and decelerate at a high rate and banking off and doing all this fun stuff. Is going, what the hell am I looking at? Do I believe that there's things up there flying that aren't us? Yeah, you bet I do. Do I think they're from other planets? No, I think they are just older versions. They're older civilizations that used to be here with us. And by that, you can look them up. There are remnants. You don't even have to watch Ancient Aliens to believe that. If you haven't watched Ancient Aliens, it's pretty fun because there's remnants of older civilizations all over the place. The sunken cities off of Japan, sunken cities off of India, Bimini Road, the real pyramids, the Bosnian pyramids, Pumapunku, Machu Picchu. It goes on and on and on. So the remnants of these cities, and who knows, when our civilization is gone, I've got a funny feeling the only thing that's going to remain, because it's inland, would be Mount Rushmore. Wouldn't that be funny? But yeah, I think that aliens are around, but they're not. But they aren't from other worlds. They are just older versions of us. There you go.
All right. So out there, I have a question. Well, basically, someone told me the question, but based on the documentary, you did multiple experiments testing out flat Earth. So, in the documentary, it shows that, after the experiments, all of them proved the Earth to be round. So, the question is, how could you still believe flat Earth even when all these experiments show?
All these experiments? You mean the last one with Jaron?
Experiments. Most experiments show that the Earth is round.
Well, that's not true, but I understand. You're the teacher, so you're going to say that. We've got experiments going back years that show the exact opposite, which is long distance photography. You can see things way farther than they should. Gravity versus the vacuum of space. Absolutely, that shouldn't happen the way it's happening. The bleeding edge of space, we shouldn't even have an atmosphere because pressure cannot exist in non-pressure without some sort of barrier. When it comes to the documentary, and again, the documentary people hated us. And I got to get this out, which is we didn't even know they hated us until they did there was a director's commentary on iTunes which we heard, oh God, like 6 months later. Patricia and I listened to it. And what they had said was everything was actually fine. They were just going to make it a human interest piece until they got to the part, and you probably remember this, when that 12-year-old kid was at the conference and he was asking me a question. I couldn't see him because the house lights. And once that kid went up to the microphone, that's when they said, and they admitted it. They go, oh yeah, this is when we had to take a stand and go against flat Earth. So everything you saw in that documentary was colored from the director's standpoint and the producers, which was, yeah, we are totally against flat Earth. As far as our experiments go, if flat Earth didn't have good experiments that were compelling, well, we wouldn't even be talking right now. I wouldn't be doing this for 11 years. And the channels wouldn't keep doing what they're doing, and we wouldn't have conferences and meetups, and people would be dropping it out. Why our retention rate is 99%. And by that, I mean, once you're into flat Earth, once you're fully invested, you can't leave it because there's nowhere to go. That's higher than most organized religions. Anyway, there you go.
All right. One or two more questions, and then we'll stop.
I guess.
Go ahead. With that big focus. Hey, go ahead, man.
Oh, if I follow you on Instagram, will you follow me back?
I would if I had Instagram. I don't even. That's a good question, by the way. I don't run. But from what I understand, I've got some people reaching out. It's like you got. In fact, my co-host DJ is like, I'll set up an Instagram account for you. It's like, okay, fine. I'm older, so Instagram. It's like, you know, in fact that I say that instead of Insta or whatever you guys say. I only run YouTube, just so you know. I have got you can go into YouTube and type in Flat Earth Mark, or go into any search engine, type in Flat Earth Mark. But YouTube is the only one I run officially. Everything else is run by other people. I don't even know who they are. But I'll tell you what, if you can email me, my email address is in the description box of every single video I make. I'm super easy to find. Hell, my phone number is there as well. You can send me an email and tell me where to find you, and I will, once the Instagram account is done, I will, sure, you bet. I don't even know how Instagram works, so sure.
It just posts pictures and stuff, Mark.
Oh, okay.
Videos and pictures.
Oh, so similar.
Mark, do you do TikTok? That's a good one.
No, I don't do TikTok yet, and again, because I'm older, I've been dragging my feet, but I didn't really have to. The difference is when I start making stuff, and it's not just me, it's most of our original creators that have been putting out stuff. Most of the people react to our stuff. So there's tons of flat Earth stuff on TikTok. Oh, tons and tons of stuff. In fact, some of my stuff is on there. I couldn't tell you, where, because people just grab them, because it is the most, if you're building a channel and you want to generate clicks and interest, put a flat Earth video and watch what happens to your comments section. People go nuts. So they drag them over, and then they make compilations, and then we put them back on YouTube, and it goes back and forth and back and forth. So, but to your point, I have made a number of YouTube shorts, which I didn't want to do. I was drag kicking and screaming into that. So I've got a bunch of YouTube shorts. Some of them aren't even flat Earth related. I just figure in 60 seconds, I'll talk about whatever.
All right. Well, I guess we'll go ahead and let you go so these guys can finish up this paper that they're supposed to work on.
Okay.
But thank you for taking the time.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank all the classes. Appreciate it.
Yes, we really appreciate you. It's a fun time. Thank you for giving us your point of view on flat Earth.
Yeah, happy to do it, guys. Again, my closing thing is, don't take anything I said, as absolute gospel. Do your own research, figure out for yourself. Don't look into flat Earth. Seriously, if you like your life the way it is, and you don't want to get weird, and because once you're in, it changes you forever. So don't do it. Just don't.
Picture? Why do you want a picture for?
Take a picture.
Take a picture of him, or like,
Yeah, like with us. With like
us up there with him on the screen.
just
Yeah.
on the screen?
like this.
Would you let him take pictures with you just
Yeah.
standing on the screen?
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
Let's go.
Does that help?
Do the flat Earth pose.
Flat Earth pose.
Oh.
No, the
Oh, you
brother
like
one.
this?
No.
Oh, no.
And then hey, let's go. All right,
Oh, good Lord.
Take a picture. Let's go.
All right, tell me when you're done.
All right.
Oh, I got you.
I guess, yeah.
Look,
You
look.
take it. Take it.
All right, I got it.
All right, we're good, Mark. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, guys. Have a good one.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Yeah.